The Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Number 8. Sudden and Gradual. When the Patriarch Huineng resided at Paolinsu in Shaoqi, Great Master Shen Su was at Yuchuan Su, or Jade Spring Monastery in Qingnan. At this time, the two schools flourished, and everyone said, Huineng in the south and Shen Su in the north. Hence, there was a division into the two schools of south and north, sudden and gradual. But students did not understand the purport of this distinction. The master told the assembly, in the Dharma, there is fundamentally one doctrine. It is in people that there is south and north. The Dharma is thus a single seed, but in seeing it, there is fast and slow. What is it that is named sudden and gradual? The Dharma is without sudden and gradual. It is people that are clever or dull. Therefore, the names sudden and gradual. But Shen Su's followers frequently criticize the southern school, saying the Patriarch Huineng is completely illiterate, so how could it be better? Shen Su said, he has attained the wisdom that is without teacher, and is profoundly enlightened to the superior vehicle. I have not. In fact, my teacher, the fifth Patriarch, personally transmitted the robe and Dharma to him. How could this possibly have been an error? I regret I am unable to travel the great distance to be close to him, but falsely receive the nation's munificence. You people do not linger here, but go to Shaoqi to consult with Huineng and have your doubts resolved. One day, Shen Su commanded his student Qi Cheng, you are intelligent and wise in many things. Go on my behalf to Shaoqi and listen to Huineng's Dharma. Whatever you hear, memorize it, and come back and tell it to me. Following this command, Qi Cheng went to Shaoqi, where he joined the assembly and inquired of Huineng without saying where he was from. At that time, the Patriarch informed the assembly, there is now a person hiding in this assembly in order to steal the Dharma. Thereupon, Qi Cheng came forward, did obeisance, and told everything. The master said, you have come from Yuchuan Su. This must have been a plot. Qi Cheng answered, no, it isn't. The master said, why isn't it? Qi Cheng answered, before I spoke up it was, but now that I've spoken up, it isn't. The master said, how does your master teach his followers? Qi Cheng answered, he always teaches his congregation to fix the mind to contemplate purity and sit constantly without lying down. The master said, to fix the mind to contemplate purity is a sickness, not meditation. How could it benefit the principle to sit constantly with rigid body? Listen to my verse. You can sit in meditation without lying down from the day you're born. But when you die, you will lie down and not sit up. One always has this putrid skeleton. Why should one set such a task? Qi Cheng did obeisance again and said, when I was at Great Master Shen Su's, I studied the way for 9 years without achieving enlightenment. Now I have heard one explanation by your reverence, and I have conformed to it, that is, become enlightened to the fundamental mind. I believe that the matter of birth and death is important. Would your reverence and your compassion teach me further? The master said, I have heard that your master teaches students about morality, meditation, and wisdom, but I don't know how he explains them. What are the characteristics of his practice? Tell them to me. Qi Cheng said, Great Master Shen Su teaches that not to do evil is called morality, to practice good is wisdom, and to purify one's own intentions is called meditation. Thus does he teach. I wonder, with what Dharma does your reverence teach people? The master said, To say that I have a Dharma for people would be to deceive you. I simply release people's fetters according to the situation. The samadhi of provisional names, such as your master's explanation of morality, meditation, and wisdom, is truly inconceivable. But my view of morality, meditation, and wisdom is different. Chi Ching said, "There can be only one type of morality, meditation, and wisdom. How can there be any other?" The master said, "The morality, meditation, and wisdom of your teacher is directed at people of the great vehicle. My morality, meditation, and wisdom are directed at people of the supreme vehicle." The enlightenment and understanding of people differs, and there is slow and fast in seeing. Listen to my explanation and see if it's the same as his. The Dharma that I preach does not depart from the self-natures. To preach the Dharma apart from the essence is called superficial preaching and is permanently deluded regarding the self-natures. You should understand that all the functions of the myriad dharmas are all activated from the self-nature. This is the true Dharma of morality, meditation, and wisdom. Listen to my verse. For the mind ground to be without error is the morality of the self-nature. For the mind ground to be without stupidity is the wisdom of the self-nature. For the mind ground to be without disruption is the meditation of the self-nature. Neither increasing nor decreasing, one's self adamantine. The body going and coming fundamentally is samadhi. When Chi Chung heard this verse, in gratitude he offered a verse that said, "The five skandhas, the body of phantasmagoria, how could the phantasmagoria be penetrated to the ultimate? Proceeding back towards suchness, the dharmas are still impure." The master approved this, then said to Chi Cheng, "The morality, meditation, and wisdom of your master is for exhorting those of small capacities to wisdom, but my morality, meditation, and wisdom is for exhorting those of great capacities to wisdom. If you are enlightened to the self-nature, you need not posit Bodhi and Nirvana, nor do you have to posit emancipated perceptual understanding. Only when there is not a single Dharma that can be apprehended can one posit the myriad Dharmas. To understand this doctrine is called the body of the Buddha. It is also called Bodhi and Nirvana, and emancipated perceptual understanding. The person who has seen the nature apprehends the dharmas whether he posits them or not. He is autonomous in his going and coming, without stagnation or hindrance. He acts in response to the functions of students, and he answers in response to their words. Always manifesting his nirmanakaya, he never departs from the self-nature. He attains the samadhi of autonomous deportment in the supernormal powers. This is called seeing the nature. Chi Cheng further inquired of the master, "What is the meaning of not positing?" The master said, "The self-nature is without error, without stupidity, and without disruption. In moment after moment of thought, prajna illuminates, constantly transcending the characteristics of dharmas. Independent and autonomous, he apprehends everything. How could there be any positing? The self-nature becomes enlightened itself, sudden enlightenment and sudden cultivation. There is no gradual progression. Therefore, one does not posit all the dharmas. The dharmas are quiescent. How could there be a progression?" Chi Cheng bowed and said, "I wish to attend upon you, and will do so morning and night without remiss." Chi Cheng was from Tai Ho in Chi Chao. The monk Chi Chi was from Chang Si, and originally of the surname Chang, and name Sing Chang. While young, he was chivalrous. Ever since the division into North and South, Although the leaders of the two schools had eliminated the distinctions of self and other, their disciples competed in their favoritism. At one time, the followers of the northern school established Shen Shui as the sixth patriarch and resented the public's knowledge of the patriarch's transmission of the robe. Thus, they enjoined Xing Chang to come assassinate the master. Through precognition, the master knew what was happening and placed 10 liang of gold on the die. That night, Xing Chang entered the patriarch's room and was about to attack him when the master stretched out his neck to make it easier for Xing Chang. Xing Chang swung at him 3 times with his blade, but Huineng was not injured at all. The master said, "The correct sword is not false, and the false sword is not correct. Just take your money. Do not take the life you came for." Xing Chang fell prostrate with shock. After quite a while he came to his senses and sought Huineng's compassion, repenting his error and wishing to leave home to become a monk. The master then gave him the money, saying, "You should go. I fear my followers would harm you. If you can change your appearances and return someday, I will accept you." Xing Chang followed these instructions and escaped in the night. Later, he left home to become a monk, took the full precepts, and vigorously trained in Buddhism. One day, remembering what the master had said, Xing Chang came from afar to pay his respects. The master said, "I have been thinking of you for a long time. What night did you come?" Xing Chang said, "Previously, your reverence disposed of my transgression. Now, although I have left home and am engaged in ascetic practices, ultimately it will be impossible to reward you for your virtuous action. Is transmitting the Dharma and saving sentient beings all that I can do? Your disciple has been reading the Nirvana Sutra constantly, but I do not understand its doctrines of permanence and impermanence. I beg your reverence, in your compassion, to explain these for me briefly." The master said, "That which is impermanent is the Buddha nature. That which has permanence is all the good and evil dharmas and the mind of discrimination." Xing Chang said, "What your reverence has said is quite different from the text of the sutra." The master said, "I transmit the mind seal of the Buddha. How could what I say differ from the Buddha Sutra?" Xing Chang said, "The sutra teaches that the Buddha nature is permanent, but your reverence says it is impermanent. The sutra says that the good and evil dharmas and the minds of Bodhi are all impermanent, but your reverence says they are permanent. This difference has made this student even more confused." The master said, "Formerly, I heard the nun Wu Jin Sang read through the Nirvana Sutra once, and I explained it for her without so much as a single character or single doctrine being different from the text of the sutra, and I ultimately have no separate teaching for you." Xing Chang said, "This student's understanding is shallow, and I ask your reverence to reveal the teaching for me in detail." The master said, "Do you understand? If the Buddha nature were permanent, then, no matter what good and evil dharmas one explained, not a single person throughout the entire eon would generate bodhicitta. Therefore, I preach that it is impermanent. This is precisely the way of true permanence preached by the Buddha. Furthermore, if all the dharmas were impermanent, then everything would have its own self-nature that would experience birth and death, and those true and permanent natures would not be omnipresent. Therefore, I preach that they are permanent, which is precisely the true doctrine of impermanence preached by the Buddha. Because ordinary people and heretics are attached to false permanence, and those of the two vehicles consider permanence to be impermanence, together forming the 8 confusions, the Buddha, in the authoritative teaching of the Nirvana Sutra, destroyed their prejudices and revealed his explanation of true permanence, the true bliss, the true self, and the true purity. You are now relying on the words but going against the meaning. With an nihilistic impermanence and a deterministic permanence, you have misunderstood the Buddha's last words, which are perfect, wondrous, and subtle. What benefit can there be in reading the sutra 1,000 times? Ting Chang suddenly experienced a great enlightenment, after which he spoke a verse, which went, "Because we maintain our minds of impermanence, the Buddha preached of permanence. Not understanding his expedient means, I was as if collecting pebbles by a pond in springtime. Now, without expending any of my own effort, the Buddha nature is right before me. It was not bequeathed to me by the Master, and I am also without anything that is attained." The Master said, "You have not penetrated the true teaching, so you should be called Chi Chi." Chi Chi bowed in gratitude and retired. There was a boy named Shen Hui who was from the Cao family in Xiangyang. At age 13 he came from Yuchuan Su to consult Huineng. The Master said, "You have gone to great trouble in coming such a distance, but have you brought the fundamental? If you have the fundamental, then you must recognize the Master, that is, the host or subject. See if you can explain it to me." Shen Hui said, "Non-abiding is the fundamental, and seeing is the Master." The Master said, "What will this novice say next?" Shen Hui then asked, "When your reverend sits in meditation, does he see or not?" The Master struck Shen Hui with his staff 3 times and said, "When I hit you, does it hurt or not?" Shen Hui answered, "It both hurts and does not hurt." The Master said, "I also see and do not see." Shen Hui asked, "What is this seeing and also not seeing?" The Master said, "My seeing is to see constantly my own mind's errors. I do not see other people's right and wrong or good and evil. This is to see and also not to see. You said it hurts and does not hurt. How about this? If you do not hurt, then you're the same as a tree or rock. If you hurt, then you're the same as an ordinary unenlightened person who would become resentful. When you just said, quote, seeing and also not seeing, you thought they were 2 extremes, and your hurts and does not hurt were your misconception of birth and death. But you don't see your self-nature, so you're just playing around." Shen Hui bowed in gratitude. The Master went on to say, "If your mind is deluded and you do not see, then ask a spiritual compatriot to show you the path. If you are enlightened in your mind, then you will see the nature yourself. Cultivate in accordance with the Dharma. You are deluded yourself and do not see your own mind. But you come and ask about my seeing and not seeing. I see and I understand, but how could this take the place of your delusion? If you see for yourself, then you will also be unable to take the place of my delusion. How can you ask about my seeing and not seeing when you do not understand and have not seen for yourself?" Shen Hui did obeisance once again, making over 100 prostrations. Seeking to put an end to his errors, he served Huineng as attendant and never left his side. One day, the Master announced to the assembly, "I have a thing without head or tail, without name or title, without front or back. Do you know what it is?" Shen Hui came forth and said, "It is the fundamental source of the Buddhas. It is my Buddha nature." The Master said, "I told you it was without name or title, but you have called it the fundamental source, the Buddha nature. You've just covered your head with thatch. You've become a follower with only discriminative understanding." After the Patriarch's extinction, Shen Hui entered Chang'an and Luoyang and widely disseminated the sudden teaching of Cao Qi. He wrote the explanation of the central doctrine, which circulated widely. This is Chan Master of Hotze Su, or Lotus Marsh Monastery. The Master, seeing that many of those who would ask about the schools with evil intentions had gathered beneath his dai, took pity on them and said, "Students of the way, you should eliminate all good and evil thoughts. That there are no names that can be named is to name the self-natures. The non-dual nature is called the true nature. It is upon the true nature that all the teachings are established. At these words you should see for yourselves." When they heard this explanation, they all did obeisance and requested that he be their teacher.